As you can see, these outtakes are all about vintage dragsters. The other common thread here is the man behind the camera who spends countless hours videoing, editing and producing small videos about the golden age of drag racing and the people that were involved at that time. We thought it was about time we reversed the roles and put him in front of the camera to show people the depth of the contribution this man has made to the presentation and preservation of our history. So sit back and we hope you enjoy this small tribute.
Well, 20 years ago, the man next to me was just another spectator coming to watch Vinny's drags, but he's kind of responsible for the whole Cacklefest craze, and this car behind us got him started. Bill, tell me the story.
Kevin, all I can tell you is I felt like there was a big hole in my heart from the days when I would go to the drag races with my father, and we would sit in the stands and we would watch all of the stars, people that I saw in the magazines and read about in drag newses and things like that, and I just felt like where were they? Where did they go? They all disappeared. I think it because of a lot of the big money that was built up into drag racing that they couldn't afford to stay up with the guys that had money.
And they were hobbyists back then, basically.
They were hobbyists, and they were my heroes.
Right.
And I missed them, and I missed the cars they drove. I felt like they were thoroughbred racehorses that you would go to like a racetrack, and those racehorses would fly by, and people would be standing in the stands watching them go by, which is exactly what happened with these drivers and these cars.
What a passion, Bill. This is great.
Well, that's the way it was. And then all of a sudden, because the horse couldn't run as fast as the newer cars, they had to be put away, put out to pasture, and they were turned into cars that ran in lower classes, which was fine. That was good for the other guys, but I wanted to take a car back to what it was originally, as close as I could with the budget I had.
Right.
And I didn't have the money to spend to race. So basically I thought, well, what am I gonna do now? I got the car, it has no motor in it.
And how'd you find the car?
I found the car basically just by asking some of the old drag racers where I'm looking for an old dragster. Where can I find one? And they helped me find one in El Cajon that turned out to be the Shelby Super Snake of Don Prudhomme. It was sitting in an old trailer next to a house, basically had been all but forgotten.
Wow.
And so it was one of the Snake's cars.
Indiana Jones of drag racing history.
It was just so exciting to unearth a piece of drag racing history, and I was able to trade that car for the Magic car, this car is tied to Kent Fuller, one of drag racing's premier chassis builders, Jumpin' Jeep Hampshire, one of the great heroes, drivers of the sport. I was able to have the courage to make contact with them and having conversation with them and asking them if it was okay if I presented their history as best I could to people that were interested in hearing about where drag racing came from.
And this is all way before it became popular to do that. You were a visionary. Come on, you dug these guys out of retirement, and we're here today because of things you did back then.
Well, all I know is I just appreciate the fact that so many people have decided that this path is one that they can do. It doesn't cost them a fortune to bring back a car and share it with others. And it's a wonderful showing of all this wonderful history out here that's alive and well. And the guys that were the stars back then that went to just becoming normal people, they are able now to get in the car that they were in 1965. Jeep Hampshire can get in his car and drive down the drag strip with the flames coming out of the pipes and feel like he's
a kid again.
A star again.
Right,
And I
okay.
can feel like a fan, and we all feel young as a result.
Right. Well, one more quick story. Now, there's a great motor story about this car, right?
Yeah, it basically was, I had the car, I didn't have a motor, I didn't have a path, I didn't know what I was going to do with it exactly. And what I did was I went to the Pomona swap meet because I figured I could go there and maybe buy some parts for the car. I'd never built a nitro Hemi in my life. I was a fan.
And
I
everyone
wasn't
knows
a racer.
the holy grail of anything automotive is the Pomona swap meet.
Right, correct. And so I went inside and I went through the main gate and I looked off to the right, and here was this line of little trailers. And what they were was they had the old farm implement motors on them, the old FOP motors that would go poochika, poochika,
Yeah.
poochika. And each owner of these motors was so proud to stand next to the motor. They had a history plaque that explained where the motor came from. And as you walked up to them, they'd say, "Would you like me to start my motor for you?" And they were so full of pride. That
And
they
there's
could,
a whole society, and they come out
Right.
every Sunday to
and they,
Pomona.
and they were so full of pride that they could present the history of something that was part of days gone by.
Right.
So I thought, oh my God, we can do this with these cars in a way.
Oh, you did. You did.
So we brought it back. We didn't let it sit there silently. We brought it to life, and people loved it. They loved to smell it, feel it, hear it, taste it, everything.
Well, you just painted a mind's picture to me, because I can see those old one-lungers chopping away.
Yes.
And later tonight, we're going to see all these cars out on the strip cackling away.
I know, what a miracle.
It
What
is.
a miracle it is.
Okay,
Kevin,
Bill, I
thank
want to
you
thank
very
you for
much.
talking on live car shows,
Thank
and
you very
we'll
much.
get together again soon to hear some more history, because you've been all over looking for cars.
I've been inspired by drag racing's history. That's
Very
all I
good.
can say.
Okay,
Thank
Bill,
you very much.
you bet. Just hang right here. He's going to go back for a wide shot.
Sure, no problem.
And then we'll take some close-ups of the car so we can go to some Zolls while we're talking. And thank you very much. Great story. You're right here.